Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. IRS July 15th tax payment deadline approaching. Plan on scheduling multiple payments now. IR 2020-131 June 26, 2020, Washington. As the 2019 tax filing and payment deadline approaches, the IRS reminds taxpayers and businesses that 2019 income tax liabilities as well as postponed April 15th and June 15th, 2020 estimated tax payments are due July 15th, 2020. This postponement is provided temporary tax relief in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. I think the IRS is getting a little bit worried that they're going to get their payments because they have made some postponements of when the payments are going to be due. And so there's going to be a lot more payment due for some people at some point in time due to those postponements. So we know that the tax return has been postponed. So the tax return is going to be due shortly. And any payments that are due with the 2019 tax return will be due, as well as estimated payments for 2020. Now, if you have estimated payments, that would be if you're in a situation where you do not have a W-2 employee. If you're a W-2 employee, then the payments are just simply going to be taken out of your W-2 wages for you by your employer, and then they're paid during the year of 2020, and you'll just reflect that in your W-2 at the end of the year when you do the tax file in 2021 for the tax year 2020. However, if you have some type of situation where you have to make estimated payments, such as you have your own business, a sole proprietor, for example, then they've postponed some of those payments. And so that's a nice thing. However, they haven't removed the tax liability. They just postponed the payment. So that means that the payments are going to be coming due now, and there's multiple payments that could be coming due for some people, and that could lead to a tougher ability to pay because it was a postponement that's coming due at this point in time. So there could be multiple payments that would be coming due at this time. So the IRS is giving a reminder out there, apparently, that these payments are going to be coming due, including the estimated payments for the first and second quarters of 2020, and any payments that are going to be due with the tax return that's going to be filed for 2019. Back to the text. Taxpayers who owe a 2019 income tax liability as well as estimated tax for 2020 must make two separate payments on or by July 15th, 2020, one for their 2019 income tax liability and one for their 2020 estimated tax payments. So you want to keep those kind of things separate in your head. It's not like, and don't think that you can just send a check to the IRS and they'll just figure it out and put it to the right place, because they won't, right? They won't understand. You got to tell them, this is the check that I want to be applied to 2019 and pay off the 2019, and then you send in the estimated payments for 2020, and you want to make sure that you have those two things separate in your mind. And so you got 2019. If you owe anything for 2019, you're gonna need to pay that off if you can. You got to pay that off, and then of course now we got to make estimated payments for the current year, 2020, which we're going to be filing a tax return for in 2021, because the IRS wants their payments quarterly, but then they told us you don't have to give them quarterly for the first and second quarter because of the COVID-19 thing, but now they still want their money. That didn't go away. It just kind of got pushed out. So now there could be some people that have multiple quarters of payment to make at this point in time. So you want to keep those two things separate, and when you make the payments, again, note in your records and tell the IRS, hey, look, you got to tell them this is 2019 payment. This is the 2020 estimated payments. Back to the text. Two estimated tax payments can be combined into a single payment. So for the estimated payments for 2020 now, of course, because they had the first and second quarter delayed, so you could combine the 2020 payments into a single payment, given the fact that they have that postponement in terms of the due date. Instead of having the 4 payments, the idea is, if you can make the payment, then the idea would be that you would have one, large first payment that's going to be at the end of the first 2 quarters, and then possibly the third and fourth payment. So back to the test. A list of forms due July 15th is on the Coronavirus Tax Relief Filing and Payment Deadlines page. There's a link to that here. Electronic payment options are the optimal way to make the tax payment. So if you want to make your payments using electronic options, that's the way the IRS would prefer it. And you have links to those options here. We'll have a link to this in the text. Paying electronically. Individuals, taxpayers can use direct pay. There's a link to the direct pay here for 2 payments each day. Direct pay allows taxpayers to pay online directly from a checking or savings account for free, and the scheduled payments up to 365 days in advance. They will receive an email confirmation of their payments. Taxpayers attempting to make at least 3 payments on the same day using direct pay will receive a warning of possible duplicate payment, and they will need to select an override for those payments to continue. For businesses or those making large payments, the best payment option is the electronic federal tax payment system. There's a link to that here, which allows up to 5 payments per day. Enrollment is required. Taxpayers can schedule payments up to 365 days in advance and opt in to receive email notifications about their payments. Visit irs.gov/EFTPS for details. There's a link to that here. Paying by check, money order, or cashier's check. 2019 tax liability. If paying a 2019 income tax liability without an accompanying 2019 tax return, taxpayers paying by check, money order, or cashier's check should include Form 1040V payment voucher with the payment. So if you want to pay by check, you can still do that. That's fine. But you get the payment voucher, which is a 1040V, which you can find on the IRS website. There's a link to it here. You can search for it on the irs.gov website, searching for a 1040V payment voucher. Back to the text. For those paying with filing their 2019 income tax return, do not staple a paper clip the payment to the return. For more information, go to the pay by check or money order on irs.gov. So you want to go, if you want to pay by check or money order, you want to go to the this link and see the proper format in order to do that. Of course, the IRS would like to get their money if you have anything due for 2019 in an electronic format. That's what they're kind of preferring to do, but you can still send in the paper check there. Just make sure you do it the proper way so you don't confuse the IRS. Now, obviously, when you file the 2019 return, you might be getting a refund, and which would be great. Hopefully you are, which would be great. And then obviously you're not making a payment. You have to decide how you want to receive the refund. Do you want them to send you a check, or do you want to give them the banking information as you file the tax return so they can put it directly into your bank account? Back to the text. 2020 estimated tax payments. Taxpayers making their 2020 estimated tax payments by check, money order, or cashier's check should include the appropriate Form 1040ES payment voucher. So once again, you can make your payments by just writing a check if you prefer to do so. Just make sure you don't confuse the IRS. How do you not confuse the IRS? You give them the Form 1040ES payment voucher. There's a link to that here. You can also just basically search on the irs.gov website for the Form 1040ES. So indicate on the check memo line that this is a 2020 estimated tax payment. That's the key here. You got to tell the IRS, hey, look, this is the year that I'm applying this thing to and what I'm applying it for. Don't just give the IRS money and think that the IRS will apply it where they think is best. They'll just be confused, right? So you got to give them the payment voucher and say, hey, this is for 2020, this is for 2019, and so on and so forth. Back to the text. Additional electronic payment options. Payment options are available on irs.gov/payments. There's a link to that here. Taxpayers can pay when they file electronically using tax software online. If using tax preparer, ask the preparer to make the tax payment through an electronic funds withdrawal from the bank account. So if you're using software, you may be able to make the payment electronically with the use of the software. If you're working with a tax preparer, they are almost certainly using software and therefore should be able to help you out with that process. Back to the text. Taxpayers can choose to pay with a credit card, debit card, or digital wallet option through a payment processor. There's a link to the payment processor here. Processing fees apply. No part of the card's service fee goes to the IRS. So there may be a service fee. It doesn't go to the IRS. Back to the text. The IRS To Go app, there's a link to that here, provides mobile-friendly payment options, including direct pay and payment provider payments on mobile devices. And individuals and businesses preferring to pay in cash can do so at a participating retail store. So you can go to a participating retail store and actually pay cash. Go to irs.gov/pay with cash for instructions. Okay, and then for taxpayers, look at all these options they have to give for you to give them money. It's really good, but it is good that they have good payment options. I have been in situations where it seems like the IRS is just making it very difficult to pay them. And it's kind of frustrating. It's like, I'm trying to pay you, and you're making it difficult. But here we go. Back to the text. For taxpayers paying separately from when they file their tax return, the more secure and quicker way to send payments to the IRS is by going to irs.gov/payments. There's a link to that here, and choosing an electronic payment option to submit the payment. Taxpayers should continue to use electronic options to support social distancing and speed the processing of tax returns, refunds, and payments. So the IRS, again, is pushing forward to do everything electronic as much as possible. And this whole social distancing thing, I think, kind of plays into that as well. Obviously, they're participating in social distancing. I think they obviously want and have wanted to for some time to move to being as electronic as possible. So they're going to continue to push towards that way. So, I mean, if you want to just go with the flow with them and make things easier, then you're going to want to do the electronic options as more and more, because that's where their focus will be, and I think they're leaning towards that fairly heavily. Back to the text. Reviewing federal tax information online, individual taxpayers can go to irs.gov/account to securely access information about their federal tax account. They can view the amount they owe, access their tax records online, review their payment history, and view key tax return information for the most recent tax return as originally filed.